having artificial beauty inserted in. We can all go get plastic surgery and enter a contest.
But what does that mean for people who have highlights in their hair, or maybe some brow shaping, or teeth refining, braces? Where do you draw the line?
Well, my question is, what if we talk about steroids in sports, that it's an unfair advantage because it's unnatural? Is this something similar?
I don't know. I mean, I think if it's going to make your ability that much better, whether you're inserting silicone or you're inserting silicone in your body, I mean, there's something happening that's going to change you.
If you're doing it for yourself, I mean, there's reconstructive surgery for women who lose a breast through, or both breasts sometimes, because of breast cancer. There are plastic surgeries that I think are perfectly fine to bring up your self-image to yourself. You feel like who you are when you retain your shape. But when you're doing it for the purpose of winning a pageant, or just purely for that reason, then I have to question your moral and your ethical value system.
I'm on the same page with you, Aastha. I think I have nothing against plastic surgery. You know, if someone feels that they're going to feel better about themselves by changing something about themselves, and that's something they feel they need, more power to them. My problem with this pageant thing and the fact that every Miss Venezuela has had something nipped or tucked or inserted into her body is that you're saying that you can't win without doing this. You're telling a group of people you can't win without doing this. And then the young girls watching the pageants are thinking, well, I cannot look like that unless I do this, this, and this. And that's changing a mentality. That's, you know, that's the Barbie syndrome that we talked about last year, about how, you know, I don't let my daughter play with Barbies because it's just not a natural look, you know. I mean, that's, you're changing the way people perceive what a woman should look like.
And my other problem with it, I mean, other than how women view themselves, and you know, they're scouting women all over Venezuela to be the future Miss Venezuela, but what is it saying to what it means to look like a Venezuelan, and what does it mean to look like a Miss India? And if you're looking just sort of like a, you know, something,
a generic model in a magazine, because we all aspire for the same sort of look at the end of the day through that
how fair is that?
I think you're right. I mean, for example, Asian women, and I would say a lot of Latino women fit into this category. We have curves. We're known for this. And we don't look very European because we don't, first of all, we're not very tall necessarily, and our proportions of curves are what they are. They make us unique. And if you mess with that, then the fact is you are changing your heritage, if nothing else. You don't look like where you came from anymore. And I do have a problem with that. That's a very good point.
Well, and what about when people go into this competition? Don't you think they're going into it with their eyes open? I mean, really, if you're going to go into the Miss Venezuela competition, don't you know what you're getting in for? I mean, it's not like I'm going to win on just being, who I am. Which, you know, that is a portion. If you, as a you know, former pageant contestant, but as a judge, when a young woman walks across the stage, all bedazzled, decked out with her fake eyelashes on and all that makeup and all, you know, fake pieces of hair, if she's not being true to herself and she doesn't own who she is from the inside, you can totally tell it when they're standing on stage in a swimsuit. It doesn't matter the proportions or what everything looks like.
You don't even have to be in a swimsuit, right?
Well, you can also tell when they're in a swimsuit because they're thinking, have I made the right decisions? And they look so scared. That's the time that you know whether a young woman is comfortable in herself. So I think you many times you have beautiful women on stage who have been altered, nipped, tucked, as you said. But if they don't believe in themselves and they don't know who they are, it doesn't matter, and that is part of the process in Venezuela.
Let me ask you one question.
Have I had anything done?
No. That's not the question. The question I was going to ask is, you know, as in my 20s, I was very much against this idea of cosmetic surgery to enhance or to shape or do any of those things. Now, as I've gotten older, my views have changed because all of a sudden I think it's okay to nip and tuck a few areas, because as you age, you start feeling more and more insecure about who you are. Maybe your body figure isn't where it used to be. And if you're successful, you have the financial means, and you do get a little nipped and tucked here and there and feel better about yourself, I'm surprisingly much more okay with it now than I ever was when in my younger days. I was curious how you all stand on this issue.
I think we should be really careful to judge, right? It's very easy to sit here high and moral and say, I would never do that, and I don't understand why any woman would. Well, you've never been in that other woman's shoes. You don't know how she feels about herself. You don't know her story. So we need to be really careful. I think We are prone to judging each other quite harshly, probably more harshly than men judge us.
I think you're absolutely right.
We judge one another. So I think probably with age we are understanding that better too. Don't you think, Aastha?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I remember seeing this cartoon where a woman is looking in the mirror. She's a perfectly shapely woman, but the mirror projecting back to her is this awfully fat woman that she's very unhappy with. They have the same man looking into a mirror, and he's a portly man, right, with the beer gut and everything, but his mirror image projection is that of a handsome man. Men don't do this to themselves. Women do. We are so body conscious, and we judge all the women around us. We'll say she's got some work done, or, you know, we don't like her hair, or she should wear it this way. I think it's ingrained, and I don't know if it starts at childhood, if it's social, or if it's just genetic. I haven't been able to answer that question.
Don't you think it goes even further past looks? I mean, there are more women in this country are more highly educated than men. We are hard on ourselves because we want to be better, we want to be stronger, we want to be smarter. And I think that goes into everything that women do. They want to be better at everything.
But I also think we're our own worst enemies.
Totally.
We're absolutely our own worst enemies because women will turn on each other quicker than a man will turn on a woman. And we've got beauty pageants, and you know I've participated in one.
Beauty pageants?
That was going to be my next
but they're
point.
just not that big.
That was going to be my next point. The media hones in on the Miss America pageant and the Miss Universe pageant, and they're broadcast live across the universe, and everything. Any sort of man pageant, I don't even know what they're called. That's not given the same media attention as the ones for the women are.
We have a governor in California who was in a man pageant.
He was Mr. Universe?
He was Mr.
He
Universe.
was Mr.
So,
Universe,
I mean, that's
but
pretty big.
he was in a pageant. How many people watched the pageant?
Well, that's true.
They exist, but it's not watched. And we're looking at these things.
They've been
media
replaced
is
by
telling
People's
us.
Sexiest Man Alive covers.
There you
right?
go.
That's what ends up happening.
There you go.
Is that's where you end up really getting to know these handsome men is through Hollywood or
Where
through these magazines.
where
or
the
through
guy
sporting
on the
events.
cover gets to wear a T-shirt and jeans. Well, I think this whole plastic surgery trend is a sign of different and more bigger things. What do you think?
You could say that again. How's this for a cover? Time magazine just put on their cover, "Who needs marriage?" And there have been a lot of articles and news lately about marriage and the fact that it seems to be a dying phenomena. But let me read you this quote from this article. "Getting married is a way to show family and friends that you have a successful personal life. It is like the ultimate merit badge. But the reality is our institution of marriage seems to be fading. If you look at just what the patterns were 30 years ago, people were getting married younger. They were getting married in droves, and that was the logical next step people did after finishing high school, which was the point. Now what has happened is a lot more women are going to college. A lot more women are entering the workforce, and consequently they're delaying marriage, or rather marriage in general is just getting delayed, period, to after the point that we are all pretty much successful in our careers. And at that point, a lot of people just wonder what the practicality of marriage is anymore. The usual reasons to enter it, which was for stability, to raise kids, to have a dual income take us forward, those reasons just aren't there anymore. I read this article and I felt both encouraged and saddened at the same time.
Well, I think it varies a lot geographically too, because I have European friends who are like, yeah, marriage is so yesterday. I mean, they really, people don't get married as often. It's not just about delaying marriage to a later time. It's just choosing not to get married at all. Maybe even living in partnership with someone, having children with someone, and not being married. So the question is, if you don't need that marriage certificate to have all these